a little bit and maybe take a couple of questions about what's happening. Tell them the success we're having. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. As you announced, we are very pleased that we are ahead of schedule on delivering the economic impact payments. These were what was known as the checks in the mail that we want to deliver in direct deposit. This is ahead of schedule. We started processing those last Friday. We expect that over 80 million hardworking Americans will get the direct deposit by this Wednesday. And we know how important that is to all of those hardworking Americans, many of which are at home not working at the moment. If you do not receive them by Wednesday, on Wednesday we will be launching at irs.gov. Click on irs.gov, go to Get Your Payment. If you filed a tax return in 2018 and 19 or 19, have that information available. You'll be able to ID yourself. You'll be able to put in your direct deposit information, and within several days, we will automatically deposit the money into your account. We want to do as much of this electronically as we can. It's very important in this day and age. It's more secure, and you don't have to go to the bank. If you are a Social Security beneficiary, you do not need to do anything. You will get a direct deposit. If you have not filed and did not need to file a 2018 and 19 return, you can go to irs.gov now and enter your information and authenticate yourself. So again, we are very pleased that that is ahead of schedule. I'd also like to announce the progress we're making on the new SBA program, the PPP. Let me just remind everybody, this is a brand new program that is now 1 week old. We have distributed and confirmed $230 billion of loans to over 4,600 lenders participating. That is multiples and multiples of anything that the SBA has ever done in 1 year before. And I especially want to thank the broad-based community banks that are participating. Again, over 4,600 banks. If you haven't had your loan processed, you will get it processed this week. As the president said, we've gone back to Congress and asked them for more money to make sure that every business has access to this. Let me also comment for the states. We are distributing out half the money this week to the states. That's a week ahead of time. And we'll deliver the other half of the money to the states next week. And then let me just finally comment, we've been working very closely with the Federal Reserve. Last week we announced expanded facilities and new facilities that total $2.3 trillion of liquidity. And in particular, I'd just like to highlight a Main Street lending facility that will be for companies between 1 worker and 10,000 people, so mid-sized businesses, and also a municipal facility for states and local governments to be able to access funds given the shortages that they have. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions to state this?
Thank you, sir. Both Speaker Pelosi and Minority Leader Schumer have said that they're in negotiations with you right now on additional funding for these small business loans, that package. Leader McConnell, though, has said that nothing should be added to the package. That should just be specific to small business loans. What is the opinion of your administration? Should there be some sort of horse trading here, or should it just be small business loans?
Well, the president's view and the vice president's, in my view, is this was a bipartisan program. This SBA program, it wasn't a Republican program, it wasn't a Democrat program, it was a bipartisan program. We've committed to small businesses. We should top up that program now. I know the Democrats want to talk about more money for hospitals and states. Right now, we're just sending the money out to the hospitals and states. They haven't come close to using that money. And I know the president and vice presidents have said, once we get the SBA done, we can go into another funding bill. The president's talked about potentially adding infrastructure and other things. We think there is a likelihood we will need more money, and we will sit down and try to get a bipartisan bill. But this is important we deliver on small businesses. 50% of the people work for small businesses.
Thanks, sir.
What's the emergency that the president said you had to go for? The president said you had an emergency negotiation over this bill?
Yeah, well, or because we don't want to run out of money. We've used about $220 billion of the $350 billion. We don't want to run out of that money. We don't want to create panics that people won't get it. So That's why we want to top that up, and we've asked for another $250 billion for that program. And again, let me just remind you, every dollar we spend in this program, we save $1 of unemployment insurance. So even though we're asking for $250 billion, it really won't cost that much.
Good follow-up.
Do you have concerns about lifting the guidelines too soon? And what's the economic impact? I understand the economic argument for getting people back to work, obviously, but what's the economic risk of lifting them too early and seeing a spike in cases
Well,
again?
of course, there's economic risks in both directions. We reviewed with the president today a very broad list of over 100 business people that are going to help advise the president on what needs to be done to reopen the economy. We want to make sure, and again, the combination of economic impact payments, small business payments, enhanced unemployment insurance, the president made very clear we want to make sure that hardworking Americans have liquidity while we wait to reopen the government.
So do you believe the government should be reopened, or the country, should be reopened on May 1?
I've had discussions with the president. I know he's considering it, and I believe he's going to make a decision later in the week.
Everything has to be safe.
What is your advice to the president?
My advice is as soon as it's ready to open and based upon the medical professionals, and again, we're working very closely with the president and outside business leaders to develop a plan.
I'd like to ask you, Mr. President, what do you think, if you could sketch for us what reopening the economy looks like? Do you think it's going to be everything open, or do you think
doing that over the next 2 days, because we'll probably be making a statement about that and exactly what it looks like. I know what that looks like, but I also want to get the advice, in a sense. We have some of the biggest from every business on this council. We're actually setting up a number of different councils or committees, I guess you could call them, and we have a lot of smart people. I think that they will give us some also good advice, but no, we want to be very, very safe. At the same time, we got to get our country open. So,
Yeah, I understand that, Mr. President. Do you think there is a possibility then that what you do is you open it incrementally? Do you think people will go back to restaurants, to concerts, the cinema?
I do think so. Eventually they will. Yeah.
And let me ask
I think eventually they will do that, and I think we're going to boom. I think it's going to go quickly. Our people want to get back to work, and I think there's a pent-up demand like there hasn't been in a long time. And that's why you see the stock market. I mean, to think that the stock market's at the level it is right now, with all that this world and this country has gone, and look at the European Union, how badly decimated they've been. Look at other countries. Look at China, by the way. I've seen the numbers. Look at China. Look at how these countries have been just decimated by this. And to think that the stock market is at this tremendously high number, not that much, it was looking a little bleak for a while, but it hit a certain point and then started going up. I think that's a great tribute to the fact that there's a demand. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. In regards to some of your tweets earlier today, and I think it was Steve's question, my question to you is what provision in the Constitution gives the president the power to open or close state economies? And then
Numerous provisions. Will give you a legal brief if you want.
And then we'll be looking forward to that, sir. But following up, what happens if you say, for instance, we want states to reopen, but California or New York do not open? What would you do
I
then?
think everybody wants to open. I mean,
Can I just ask one
I
other
guess,
thing on the...
that could happen, but I don't think that would happen.
There's been states that have closed, ordered schools closed. It's been states that have ordered businesses like restaurants.
That's because I let that happen. Because I would have preferred that. I let that happen. But if I wanted to, I could have closed it up. But I let that happen. And I like the way they've done it. And the 7 that remained really in sort of a semi-lockdown, if you look